G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders podcast. We have a lot to talk about today. We've got round 2 coming up, but we've had a lot happen this week. We've had some big trade rumours or fake rumours being dropped around the competition. We obviously had the Tassie team finally revealed, and we have a bunch of other breaking news and injury topics to talk about. But let's roll the intro and get straight into this episode.
And then Rankin from the pocket, don't tell me, Isaac Rankin!
Yeah.
He's just got the license for a brothel.
Well, I think GABBA Round's going to be AFL this next season.
It's at the handle at the back. Nick Dankos to give the pies home! He's done it!
So guys, here with my co-host, my brother, as always. Big round 1 went past now. Any big surprises happened from you?
Oh, just great to see all the teams back in action.
Yeah, the true round 1 actually began.
True round 1, yeah.
Yeah, probably the only upset of the weekend was Fremantle, really. Yeah, but both premiership teams, obviously 0 and 2, or grand final team 0 and 2. So, you know, don't play grand final at this point.
Yeah.
3 of the last 4 grand finalists have had a pretty poor start. So anyway, we've obviously had a lot of news drop in the last few days. We'll talk about the Tassie stuff in a minute, but I just wanted to come through a few breaking news stories and injury updates that we've had over the weekend. The first one was actually one that you sent me about Will Day. So it does look like, unfortunately, Will Day will be ruled out for at least 5 more weeks and aiming for a return in round 7 against Sydney. That's really disappointing for Hawthorn because he was their best player last year, won their best and fairest, I believe.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a big loss for him, and to lose it so late in pre-season was disappointing.
Yeah, he's not only was he good in their midfield last year, but he's a really good ball user, and for an up-and-coming team, a good ball user is always very helpful. We see the likes of like North Melbourne and West Coast especially, who, when their ball use is terrible, it gets amplified because they can't do much else either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really disappointing for him. Justin Longmuir also confirmed today that Brennan Cox will actually need surgery on his hammy, and is likely to miss 3 months to even 4 months, about 12 to 15 weeks on that one. Now, did you see that injury happen in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, he landed awkwardly. Sorry, he extended when he tried to grab the ball, and his hamstring went. He's had a history of hamstring injuries, Brendan Cox. That's really disappointing. And also, at this stage, they're still unconfirmed as to the extent of the injury to Oscar McDonald. Obviously, was delisted by Melbourne and Carlton in his career already so far. So, got another chance at Fremantle, but unfortunately, it looks like another injury setback for him as well. And also Andrew Gaff. So, last week against Port Adelaide, he was subbed out, I think in the 3rd quarter, and only had 4 disposals to that stage. It's basically been confirmed now that Andrew Gaff will be dropped for this week's game.
Yeah, disappointing, and there's been a lot of scrutiny on him the last couple of seasons that he shouldn't be at the club. Really.
Well, I think he was one of the players last year who was expected to either retire or move to a different club, and he didn't go. So, and it's a player who I think we've both actually said that is just not giving anything to this club now and should have gone last year.
Yeah, and it's a bit disappointing. Not going to say it.
Well, I mean, there's so many young players who could take his spot, and now they're going to do it. But he's taking up a lot of salary cap spot too. He's a very high-paid player at Freo. At West Coast, sorry. And he's been there for a very long time. So, yes, he's been a good servant of the club. There's no denying that. But at the end of the day, he could have easily have gone to a different club in this year, maybe next year if he goes on again, and could have given them something. And could have given someone else a chance at West Coast to thrive. But now, or they could have recruited someone bigger. Who knows? I mean, these are the different scenarios you could think about with Andrew Gaff. But he gave him nothing on the weekend. I barely saw him when he was playing against Port Adelaide. And, I mean, obviously, he only had 4 touches and then got subbed out. This guy's supposed to be one of their champions of their team, and he's giving them nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very shocked at the end of the year that he wasn't let go. And to be honest, talking about West Coast, did you watch the Port Adelaide game on the weekend, or were you at work?
Nah, I'd work, so...
Okay. Out of all the teams I've seen so far, now we've seen all the 18 teams. Yes, it's only round 1, but they are the biggest disappointment so far. Obviously, you can mention like the Crows or Brisbane or Collingwood from their performances so far, but this was supposed to be the year that and Adam Simpson, he was given the chance to go again. He obviously has, I think it's his last year on his contract this year. Or maybe it's next year, but I do remember the big reason why he stayed was because of his contract.
Yeah.
They were talking about there's going to be a new game plan, there's going to be new this and that, and they got beaten by Port Adelaide by 50 points, but Port Adelaide had double the amount of scoring shots and didn't kick straight. So, has much changed? Not really.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it could have been a over 100-point loss again, and Port Adelaide, if they kick straight, could have kicked 200 points on.
Yeah.
And that would have been really, soul-destroying.
Yeah, well, as a West Coast... Well, I'm not a West Coast supporter, but I would assume West Coast supporters would have been, maybe a little bit excited to see how they would go this year. And, they've got a lot of players back that were out for a majority of last year, like McGovern, Yeo, Darling for a bit of on and off the year. I mean, they're basically... Who are they missing? Like, they're missing Liam Ryan up forward.
Matt Flynn.
Matt Flynn, obviously, in the ruck. There's not a lot of other players that I can really think of that bounce into that 22. I haven't really looked a huge lot at the injury list for West Coast, but there aren't many that are going to be pushing into that team and giving them a lot more quality there. And Liam Ryan hasn't been there for 2 years, really. I mean, he's been injured for the majority of it.
Yeah.
And Matt Flynn's a new recruit. So, I really am scared to see how West Coast go this year. We obviously saw last year that North Melbourne and West Coast were like teams, like they were told that they were like compromising the competition because of how bad they were performing. North Melbourne actually showed some decent signs, so I was sort of impressed, same old, but at least they're doing something. They're bringing in new players and they're trying something new. They got the new mantra of North Ball or whatever it's called. Higher attacking football, which is something different. But West Coast proving time and time again they're not doing anything different. And as someone who's not even a supporter of them, it's fucking frustrating. I don't want to see it. I want to see 18 clubs in this competition who are competing well and bringing good footy every week. I don't want to see a team that's getting flogged by 100 points. How bloody bullshit and boring is that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, another story that came out throughout the week was the story about the GABBA. Now, last week we did talk about this, how there was talk about a redevelopment of the GABBA and the fact that Brisbane would likely have to move their games for a couple of years to a different stadium. It looks like now that has been completely scrapped, that idea. They will no longer be redeveloping the GABBA. The reason why they were going to do it was for the Olympics in 2032. But it does seem now that Brisbane will be hosting the Olympic ceremonies at Suncorp Stadium and won't be building a new venue for the games or rebuild the GABBA. Yeah. So there was talk as well that they were going to build an entirely new stadium. That's not coming either. So basically what they're going to be doing, I can't remember where they're building the athletics track, because obviously Suncorp can't do that because it's a rectangle field.
They're going to redevelop the athletics stadium that hosted the Commonwealth Games back in the 70s or 80s.
Oh, okay.
I think they're going to redevelop that one.
I just can't remember what it was called though.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Brisbane. Sorry, we're not from there, so we don't know. But we don't even... At least you got the Olympics. We're from Adelaide. We don't get much here, except for maybe a fucking stupid festival that I don't care about. But yeah, I think this is interesting because they're going to host the ceremony at Suncorp, which is... I'm assuming they're going to have to redevelop it a little bit because usually the ceremonies for Olympics are hosted at an oval, usually at the field and track course, because they do the lap around the field and then they run off. So... They're going to have to do it around the rectangle or whatever?
I assume that's what they're going to do.
And it's smaller too.
It's
smaller than an oval with the field and track. Like they run across it around the track with the oval in the middle. Yeah. This is just what I'm thinking about. Like, how are they going to do it? I don't know. There's been people for and against this. Some people are saying it's good for like money and stuff because the Olympics can really gut an economy. One for Commonwealth. The Commonwealth Games supposed to be here in a couple of years in Melbourne, and that was obviously scrapped because of how much it was going to cost.
Yeah.
So you would assume that the Olympics would be much more than that because it's every country. Well, not every country, but most countries in the world. So it's really interesting. I'm not too much up on the law of this, to be honest, but. I do think the GABBA does need a little bit of a rework. It does need some... I can't remember the last time they upgraded the GABBA. it does look a bit shabby, I'm going to be honest. I've seen some people, I know there's a football content creator, Egg Footy, I'm sure a couple of years seen him. He's from Queensland, he was pretty upset. Well, not upset, but he was angry and he thought that the GABBA does need a pretty big redevelopment. The fact that the GABBA only holds 40,000 is quite low.
Yeah, I'd say that's low.
It's pretty low. I mean, even the SCG holds about 40, and that's, I think, a bit low as well. But on the other hand, like, you think about it, there's not many sporting events in those two states. I don't know, oval-shaped field that would host any more than that.
Yeah.
Like, Sydney Swans don't host more than 40,000 regularly, and neither do Brisbane. So, I guess that's a look of it as well. But, you know, if they built the field, maybe it would come. I mean, we saw in Perth with Optus Stadium, obviously the crowd numbers skyrocketed when Optus Stadium was built, and Adelaide Oval as well. The crowd numbers have been pretty significantly high since Adelaide Oval has been done. Obviously, the teams are a bit better as well, but I will be interested to see if there are talks about the GABBA being redeveloped in the future, if the AFL would help. But at the moment, the AFL have some more important stuff on their hands, I would say. Obviously, Monday night, which was last night for us, but 2 nights ago for you guys, or it's a night and a bit ago because this has been recorded on Tuesday. Anyway, the Tasmania Devils were revealed. So Team 19 of the AFL will be going to Tasmania. I think that was pretty good. I don't mind it. I haven't asked for your thoughts about this yet because I wanted to hear it first on the podcast so everyone can hear your thoughts about it.
So much anticipation for it.
Yeah, I've been putting out teasers all week. Anyway, so what were your thoughts? So you probably saw the video that I put out about the Tasmania Devils. I want you to try and cover the 4 things that I talked about. So we talked about the colours, the logo, the name, and the colour, the Guernsey. All right. So what did you think first about? What did you think on the first thoughts about?
I thought it was great for Tasmanian football. It was about time that they got their due course of getting the team.
Yeah.
The team name I think was obvious, and I think they had to go through legislation and all that sort of shit to get it over the line.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting though they're not called the Tasmanian Devils. They're called the Tasmania Devils.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's going to be calling them the Tassie Devils anyway.
Or the Tassie Devils or the Tasmanian Devils. Yeah. I do. It doesn't really roll off the tongue, the Tasmania Devils.
No.
Just me, but I don't think that's a big deal.
But it was the name that had to be. It had to be. Everyone wanted it. And I think they said the survey that they had, it was like 70%. I think it was a lot more than that. 70%.
I would be surprised what else they would have voted for.
Yeah. What was it? The colours, I think they just had to go traditional with the colours.
Yeah.
I think the green, yellow and red, I think no one's going to clash with that really. Maybe the
umpires. That's what I thought as well.
Maybe the umpires.
Fuck them at this point. Yeah. But yeah, I think that those are the colours they had to go with. I feel like that was a good idea. And, you know, I did talk about it in the video, they're quite dull colours, but I feel like the logo was something that I really liked and something that was a lot more modernised, I think. What did you think about the logo?
I loved it. I thought it was a better way of... Because you've seen the old Devil one that looks a little bit old, really.
Yeah, I'd say it's a bit old, yeah.
But the new way, I think, looks killer, really. It looks a modern way of the Tassie Devil.
Yeah.
They did it right. And I think a lot of the modern emblems now, logos, are better than what they were.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there are a lot of older like logos who, you know, you look back at them and you do have the nostalgia for like looking at them, but at the end of the day, I do like the new ones more.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a logo that I can think of now that like of a team that I would like more the old one than the new one.
You look at it. I think that it might be, but the animals, like you look at the hawks, the crows, the swans, the actual animal, even Collingwood to an extent, the modern way that they've done it looks a lot better.
Yeah.
Some of the lines like Essendon, Port Adelaide, they've changed them recently.
Maybe the Essendon one last year I didn't really like. I do like that they went back to the regular bomber.
Yeah, I think that one you had to go back because, but it was the 150th anniversary, so you kind of get it. They want to go different. But Port Adelaide, I think the change was good for them.
Yeah.
In that way, but like I said, the animals, I think they've got it right, and with the Tassie Devil, they did get it right as well, I thought.
All right, let's ask the big question, because I thought it was a contentious point, but many people online hate it. What did you think of the Guernsey?
I hated it.
Yeah.
I thought it was so, like, come on, give us something different. But they did specify after it that it's not, they don't think it's going to be their actual Guernsey. They just wanted it to, well, because they've got 4 years to really design another Guernsey.
Yeah, I thought about this as well, as when the Giants were first announced. Remember their Guernsey that they had? It was like a weird white Guernsey that had like a blue letters of the Giants.
It was like
and it was a weird red.
Yeah, they were trying to go the AFL colours or something.
Yeah, it looked dreadful.
Yeah, it looked dreadful. So
and now they've obviously got, I think, one of the best Guernseys in the comp with their like the orange G and the grey. I think that's one of the best ones.
Yeah, I think,
and if you read the comments of all the announcements, some people are just dumb and like, oh, this is going to ruin Tasmanian football, it's so gimmicky. It's like, fuck off, bro. But then there's other people who are saying like they love the everything, but the Guernsey needs to change.
Yeah.
I thought about it as well. It's obviously, this is Tasmania's teams. It's not like the Crows and the Power, but that's the state Guernsey. It's not a team Guernsey.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the state Guernsey, I understand, or the jumper. Sorry, I keep on calling it a Guernsey. The jumper or whatever is for the state team. It's not for. No. Obviously, this is their state team, but they're in the AFL now. They need to talk about. They need to try and attract new supporters into it. I don't know. What did you think about the things that I say about like the attracting new supporters?
I think it's the Guernsey it's just like it's old school in a way, and like you'll get a lot of the expats that years ago that wanted an AFL team, they'll come back and support them. But if you want the kids to come and support that team, they're not going to look at the Guernsey and think, oh, well, I know who played for them.
Oh, well, I mean, you think about like kids and that. Like as a kid, when I started barracking for the Swans or whatever, one of the first things I remember were the colours, red and white. They stand out.
Yeah.
Obviously, the red shows off on the white. You think about young people now, especially like even the Giants. Like over the last few weeks, when they've had fans there, a lot of them are younger. Yeah. They would be seeing the bright orange on that charcoal background.
Yeah.
And be seeing that stand out. And it's like a really attractive colour. Or the Gold Coast, now with like with Damien Hardwick going there, there's a lot of hype over them now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids joining, looking at them and seeing that like, oh, this is really cool. Like, when they're matching against, like, if they were a Richmond supporter and they're thinking like of maybe going to the Gold Coast because, they're like 5, like they can't really have a main team yet.
Yeah.
Maybe they would go to the Gold Coast and they see the colours, that's something that attracts them. The fact that the Tassie team doesn't really have the bright, attractive colours, they need to find a way to have their jumper attract fans.
Yeah.
And I think a way they should do it is, have you noticed when they've been posting pictures over the past few days, the graphics they've been showing, the background of it is like the hair on the back of the devil?
Yeah.
How it's like the green and the bright, like a little bit of like different coloured greens, like camo colours almost, or camo greens.
Yeah.
I think that's a different way they can go about it, and then put the logo in the middle. Similar to how like Carlton have the all blue and then the middle.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they should go all green and then in the middle, but then have like a different pattern like that. I think that'd be a different way to go about it.
Yeah, the way it is, it's just too traditional, and it's the state Guernsey. So they've got to try to do it. There's been a lot of different designs that people have come up with for the last couple of days, and some of them are really good. In my opinion, I think like people are saying that it needs like majority green. I just don't think the green majority has to be the part of the jumper.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to get the more younger people into it, use it as more of the green is more the background. It's more complete. You want in my opinion, the yellow and red to show more.
Okay.
And so then it wouldn't clash in a way.
Yeah.
Like compared to the Gold Coast, who has the red and yellow. You've got the Crows who have the red, yellow, and blue.
Yeah.
So you've got to try and get the green to not look closer to theirs in a way.
Yeah, I think that I did even mention in that video that like a white background on it wouldn't be too bad, like a really solid white, because there's not many teams other than maybe Geelong that have like a white jumper, really. Like Collingwood's away do, but like they're more black and white.
Yeah.
But I think a white with maybe a green touch of it or something, or I don't know. I obviously I'm not much of a designer, but I mean I may be a little bit. We'll talk about that in a second. But I do think that they do need to do something with the jumper, because I do think it would be great for like a heritage round jumper.
Yeah.
Obviously that'd be great. because they are the only Tasmanian team. It's not like with the Crows when they try to wear the state jumper one year, the fucking idiots. When they've got two teams here, you can't wear the state jumper, you fuckheads, because you're not South Australia, you're Adelaide. Anyway, sorry, just a bit of tangent there. But they can wear it because they're only going to get one team. So I believe that's the case. But we'll wait and see. Overall, the announcement was great.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And I know I haven't done it yet. You said you joined up the $10 membership.
Yeah.
So, and they've already got like 80,000 members now.
Yeah.
So that's 800k. I'm thinking they should pull all that together. Go for Matt Rao. What do you think?
Nah, I think Jamara
Ugelhagen.
Yeah, by the time.
Yeah, but he's already signed it to Sydney for like $11 million. So
yeah,
at this point, I think they just save it for the free agency point, and then we'll go for Matt Rao. Speaking of that, I did want to talk about a little graphic that the AFL released, well not AFL, but Fox Footy released today, about players that will be going into free agency the year that the new Tassie Devils come into the comp. So there's quite a few players right now who are going to be free agents at 2027 or after 2027. And they're talking about like marquee signings because obviously the Gold Coast, when they came in, had Gary Ablett. The Giants went with a lot of kids and went with younger players like Phil Davis, Callan Ward, and that sort of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how the Tassie team do go because we did hear that like Andrew Dillon wants the Tassie team to have pretty immediate success, which I don't really like. I'd rather them try and build a team down there.
Well, yeah, we saw it with the Gold Coast and the Giants. The Gold Coast tried to go for immediate
success, and
they
never got a success. They haven't even made the finals.
Yeah, haven't got even close. So
yeah, and now they've had to go the long route. So I don't know. We'll see how they go. But anyway, let's look at some marquee targets. So Matt Rao, Noah Anderson, Lockie Ash, Hayden Young, Caleb Sarong, Liam Henry, Tom Green, Keziah Pickett, Will Day, Miles Bergman, Cody Waitman, Sam De Koning, Trent Rivers, and Kadeem Coleman will all be free agents after the 2027 season, going into 2028.
Yeah.
Imagine if they could pick up one of them to start their team.
I know you said Matt Rao, but I think you go Caleb Sarong.
Yeah, if there's one player, you would pick Caleb Sarong out of that group?
Yeah, I would.
At the moment, I'm looking at it. I think you try and go tall. And the only tall, unfortunately, is Sam De Koning on this list anyway. But I think a big, tall player that can be the marquee player, maybe a key forward, who knows? Maybe one of the younger key forwards of the comp at the moment. Maybe they could go down there. But I think there's an interesting point of there probably has to be a marquee signing for them. Yeah. I think that's probably the case. And I don't want any of these players. I wouldn't want Matt Rowell or Noah Anderson to do it because they need to build at the Gold Coast. I want them to stay. But I would love a big player to just join the Tassie Devils and join them. And I think they even reported recently that Jeremy Cameron said that he would have gone down there. A bit easier to say when you're at the Geelong now and your career is going to be over probably by the time that happens. Yeah. But anyway,
good to say.
Yeah, nice thing to say in the end. Anyway. But guys, before we get into our fan favourite segment, I'm going to call it that, BR Designs, our very own football print company, is your one-stop shop for all your AFL prints. We have designs for every single AFL team from Gold Coast, Collingwood, the Giants, Brisbane, all of the teams we have. We'll even start making some for the Tassie Devils, I guess. I think that's a pretty good idea. So if you do want a AFL footy print from BR Designs, make sure to check the link out below and use the code BRPOD for 10% off your purchase. And even if you don't want to buy, make sure to go check them out, as we have 18 designs currently, and we have some designs in the works for the next month or so. So make sure to go check them out, and let's move into the Flog of the Week. So last week, of course, we who was the last week?
Mason Cox.
Mason Cox, yes, thank you. So Mason Cox was last week's Flog of the Week because of all the stuff, because he was trying to promote his podcast when he should have just told us what the fuck happened anyway. I think he did tell us on his podcast, but I didn't watch it because he had to make a formal statement because the AFL told him to. Anyway, like we mentioned at the start of the podcast, there has been a couple of trade rumours being released this week. We are 1 week into the season, 2 weeks into the season, and we are getting trade rumours about players leaving. Are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, before this, and he hasn't got it this week, Tom Morris, but he released about 3 weeks ago news that Sydney were interested in Cam Zerha. You're not the Flog of the Week this week, Tom, but you are begging to be nominated, bro. He's fucking right in there. Anyway, there are 2 nominees this week for the Flog of the Week because two of them made absolutely, I'm not going to call it allegedly false. There we go, so I don't get sued. But just bullshit, fake, like clickbaity titles to try and get like people to view their trade rumors. So first person I want to talk about is Jay Clark. So Jay Clark has made a trade rumor about Clayton Oliver.
Again.
Yes. So the first one here from Jay Clark, I think he's the Fox Footy reporter or whatever. He does say a Victorian rival is reportedly preparing to make a surprise pursuit for Clayton Oliver. It's not much of a surprise when you every single week make a fucking bullshit claim about Clayton Oliver's career and where he's going to be playing in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Not much of a fucking surprise. I don't actually think he names the team here. I think it's actually Geelong where he says here that has revealed that Geelong have renewed intrigue in Oliver. Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I think there's 17 other clubs looking at an All-Australian could be Brownlow medal worthy midfielder. So to say that the Cats are interested in him, I think every single team is at this point. So, and this was before the game that he played on Sunday, when he came out on Sunday and said that, he's still trying to gain trust back in the Melbourne club and all that sort of stuff. I don't think he says that if he's on the move at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, fuck you. You're the flog of the week, Jay Clark. But don't worry, you're not alone. As a reporter who I didn't think would be releasing fake trade rumours is also in the limelight this week. Cal Toomey. Now, I've actually liked Cal. I thought he was a pretty decent reporter. He reports usually about the draft sort of stuff and occasionally talks about trade stuff. But usually he doesn't make up bullshit. But he's on the right. He's on the line. He's done very well. He said, 2 rival clubs are chasing Swan superstar Errol Goulden. I know I'm a Swans fan and you can say that I'm biased, but this is so crap. I'm sorry. I think they said that Fremantle and Adelaide are the 2 clubs looking at Errol Goulden at the moment. I think you told me this. So, again, the Crows are linked to Clayton Oliver and Errol Goulden. Surprisingly, two clubs that need midfielders are looking at the best midfielders in the comp. That's a bit of a shock. I'm surprised they're not looking at fucking Devon Robertson from Brisbane. Yeah. Like, not that Devon's bad, but I'm saying, like, he's not the caliber of Errol Goulden and Clayton Oliver. So, big shock that 2 clubs who need, like, star midfielders are looking at, interested in the 2 star midfielders of the competition. I did hear another trade rumour as well that Nick Dacos is being interested by North Melbourne. Fuck, man. I'm so over these trade rumour bullshit. And this has been happening for years, but it's been promoted way more in the last year and a bit. Like, we saw last trade period, there were so many trade rumours that were given and didn't pursue. Like, we saw Tom Hawkins was mentioned as going to a different club, going to Melbourne, and that obviously never happened. There was Harry Mackay talk about him leaving to a different club. Never happened. Clayton Oliver, obviously the big one, that never happened. There are probably others, but I can't really remember them.
Harrison Petty was
Harrison Petty for like $1 billion to the Crows. That never happened. Surprisingly, Melbourne are the ones being linked all the time, and the so-called insider of Melbourne keeps on telling Tom Morris all this news. I think it's just some kid, one of the kids of the Melbourne players who keeps on telling him, like Bart Simpson calling up Mo Stan. I think that's what it is. I think that's 100% what it is. But anyway, look, I understand that there probably is a smidgen of truth to it, but the fact that they spin this into such fucking outrage and outroar from the AFL public is just the main reason why they do it. And I'm more than happy to call out bullshit when it is, because I don't think enough people do it. I think when these like so-called rumours come in, because they promote them on the footy classifieds and the AFL 360s and on the couches and that, I would much rather the other people there say, I know they're not going to reveal their sources, but I'd rather them actually go at them a bit and to ask them like different questions regarding the information. Ask them and try and get some truth out of it. like when like people are getting interviewed or interrogated for like crimes. I know this isn't crime related, obviously, but I would rather them interrogate and ask further questions into the situation rather than just saying, "Oh, well, that must be true."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, Jay Clark and Cal Toomey are our flogs of the week.
Congratulations,
guys! You are nominees. You have not been. We don't know if you will be the number one winner. Of course, at the end of the year, when we do the Boundary Riders medal count, which you guys can check out the votes every single week on the review of the round, which you should be checking out, by the way. What the fuck are those people doing who don't check it out? I heard you called them idiots.
No way.
You don't call them idiots for not watching the review? I think they're brain dead. But I wouldn't call them that if they're watching. So, anyway, if the Boundary Riders medal tally at the end of the year, we did it last year. It was really fun to do. This year we'll be doing it again, a live stream of it. And this year we're going to be doing some I think we'll do some giveaways. We'll do some stuff like throughout the stream. We'll do some different stuff, not so much boring stuff like the AFL do with the Brownlow when they release like 10 different medals and no one gives a fuck about.
Yeah.
And 10 different things. We'll do some fun stuff, but we'll also be announcing the flog of the year. So me and you will be coming up with a vote each, and then we're going to get you guys to make a vote for one as well. Basically a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So that's basically what we're going to do, guys. That's our flog. Those are our flogs of the week this week. All right, so let's get into the tips for round 2. So we've got a couple of big games this week, and we do start on Thursday night. I'll go through my tips first, and then we'll go into yours. So I've gone Collingwood over St Kilda, the Crows over Geelong on Friday night. On Saturday, I've gone Fremantle over North Melbourne, the Demons over Hawthorn, the Swans over the Bombers. So on Sunday, I've picked the Bulldogs over the Gold Coast, Port Adelaide over Richmond, and then I've gone the Giants over West Coast. So what have you tipped this week?
I'm pretty sure I've went the same. I've went Collingwood over the Saints, the Crows over Geelong, Freo over North Melbourne, Melbourne over Hawthorn, the Swans over Essendon, Bulldogs over Gold Coast, Port Adelaide over Richmond, and Jittery West over the West Coast Eagles.
So yeah, we've both gone the same this week, and I think both of us have tipped basically the favourites for all the games. Just want to talk about a few games. So I think there's going to be a couple of close games this week. Collingwood and St Kilda are obviously the game starting the round. That will be the Danny Frawley game as well. So that's also the game we're going to be streaming on the channel this week. So if you guys want to join the stream, we'll be live. Well, we're not going to be watching it because you guys can't watch or else my channel will get taken down. But you can watch me commentate the game, basically. And last week, someone came into the thing and said I was shit. So that made me perfect. Yeah, I think Collingwood should bounce back this week. I don't think they should have too many issues.
Surely this is the game they come back from.
Although St Kilda did look okay against Geelong last week and almost took that game down there.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very interesting game. I think this will definitely show if St Kilda can win this game, Collingwood are going to be 9-3, and the game in round 3 between Brisbane and Collingwood, the grand final rematch, is going to be against two teams that have not won a game yet.
Yeah.
Which would probably be the first time in history, I would say. I think it's the first time in history that both the grand finalists have not won a game in the first two matches.
Yeah.
So that's pretty insane. Do you think there could be have you looked at any of the games and thought maybe there's an upset brewing there?
To be honest, maybe you could say the Gold Coast beating the Bulldogs. That could go either way, though. So
if that was at Marvel and not at Mars Stadium, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this one, just because it's down in Mars Stadium, it's so much different conditions to the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mars Stadium is in Ballarat, so usually cold, windy conditions compared to... Well, I mean, it is a little bit warmer at the moment, so maybe that will help the Gold Coast a little bit. But that will be a test for them, because their first 2 weeks, obviously, they've been at home in their conditions.
Yeah.
This is basically a complete opposite of what they're going to be going through. That's probably the upset that I'd probably be looking at. I am very interested to see Friday night, because the Crows, other than the last 10 minutes of their game last week, they were pretty dismal. It was a pretty terrible performance. And they're going up against Geelong, who had a win on the weekend, but it wasn't too convincing. So the Crows, we obviously know this year, if they're going to be making finals, basically they're going to have to win. They're going to win all their home games, is what most people have believed. They obviously made that a fortress last year. They didn't. I think they only lost 2 games there last year. Once against Collingwood, once against Sydney, both by under a goal. And the Sydney one, a bit contentious, but I thought it was a goal. Definitely not biased in that. No, obviously it wasn't a goal. But that is an interesting game. Do you think Geelong have a chance against the Cats this week?
Yeah, I think they do, based on last week. But I think, based on last week, the Crows will respond, because that was pretty bad performance. It's like the last 10 minutes of them getting back into that game.
Yeah, there's also talk as well that Taylor Walker should be good to go for that game.
I think he should.
So that is another good in for the Crows. Cats did perform pretty well last week, and they obviously saw the Rising Star nomination of Ollie Dempsey have a pretty good game. So, he kicked 3 goals, and, it's another forward that they can work on. I think he could probably play on the midfield as well, but that's a good attribute to them. And Tom Hawkins had a bit of a quiet one. He doesn't usually have a lot of games in a row where he's pretty quiet, so that's on the Cats side, but I think that's one going to be that game's definitely going to be one in the midfield, because, and I will be interested to see how the Cats midfield go, because the Crows got well beaten last week against the Gold Coast, and from what I can tell, Geelong didn't have the best game in the midfield against the Saints. They played okay, but this time they're probably going up against a pretty similar midfield, not so much on players, but on the fact of they're not. St Kilda's best line, I wouldn't say, is their midfield. I think that's probably more their defence, St Kilda. So they're going up against a midfield. It's not the best in the competition, so it's something that they should be competing against. So that's probably another one as well. Looking at the other games, one other one I'll talk about is Sydney versus Essendon. Now, on paper, this looks like a pretty easy win for Sydney. But out of the last 9 times these guys have played, 8 times the scores have, I believe, been under the 3 goals, the final margin. So this could be a really close game. Sydney have had 2 good wins to start things off. So they are in really good form. They've beaten, Collingwood and Melbourne. So 2 teams who finished for the top 4 last year. So good performances.
Freo and North Melbourne. Freo's performance against Brisbane was pretty unexpected. But this week you're not going to see much. They just have to win against North Melbourne. That just a gimme, really.
Although last year, obviously, North Melbourne did knock them off over there.
Yeah, so you can just see... But you just
that is interesting.
And they are playing in Melbourne. They're playing at Marvel, so you want to see them actually win away. Yeah, Freo. So
yeah, even if it is North Melbourne, you still want them to bank some wins, especially because there's been a lot of talk over the off season about Fremantle. Obviously, no players picked up. They lost a lot of players in the off season, and then obviously last week they signed Justin Longmuir to another year on his contract. So, Freo have got to win some games away if they're going to be making finals. If they can keep their win record at home solid like they have before last year, and they can bank a couple of wins away, then they could make finals. Yeah. So that's what Fremantle have to do. And games like North Melbourne, where they are expected to win, they need to go and win those games. Yeah. So that's definitely one that Fremantle have to win. I will be interested to see the Melbourne Hawthorn game so much. The battle of Melbourne's forward line, if they can play well against depleted Hawthorn defence. Because we saw last week Melbourne were able to get over 100 points against the Western Bulldogs, which was a good performance from them. But now they're going to have to do it again against Hawthorn as well. They're kind of figuring out... I think it's good that Melbourne, for them, their sake, they've got a couple of teams where they can, test out their forward line against some lower opposition, maybe give them some confidence. Obviously, Bailey Fritsch had a pretty poor game last week, but they were still able to kick 100 points. So against Hawthorn, who's got a couple of injuries already at the moment, they're still working out their forward structure with their new recruits. So that's another game that Melbourne can test out their forward line. Ben Brown kicked a couple of goals last week. They got 3 goals from Van Rooyen and 3 from Chandler. So good to see for Melbourne's sake, and they needed to start getting some wins. I will be interested to see how Hawthorn play Max Gawn, because the Bulldogs basically didn't touch him. Sydney were all over him. So I'll be interested to see if Hawthorn will just go after him a bit. I think they may. And we've seen Finn McGuinness come into the team last year and play on Clayton Oliver. I think Sam Mitchell did say that throughout this year, Finn McGuinness will come into the team only when he's needed to do a tagging role, basically. Yeah, so that's interesting that if he will come in this week to play on one of the Melbourne midfielders. Yeah. But is there much else that you have for the tips this week? Any other major concerns?
Think Port Adelaide just have to kick straight. That would be a
we talked about it in the review, but Port Adelaide could have won that game by 100 points.
No, they could have won about 200 points that game. Yeah. They had, 38 scorers? No.
Yeah, it would have been about 38. They had 17 goals from 38 scoring shots or something, and that's something they need to do this week. Richmond are I would bank that as a win. It is at the MCG, so it's away from Adelaide. But Port Adelaide should be good enough to go and win that. Yeah. But that's basically our tips for this week, guys. Let's get to our first week of AFL Fantasy Review. I didn't do very well. I'm going to be honest. I was so confident this week, in the first week, going into it thinking, I'm going to have a pretty good week. Yeah. But to make an excuse to myself, I did have 2 players that had... Well, all right, let's get to the point, first of all, that I had... the Richmond defender Josh Gibcus in my team. He scored 12. Obviously, a really unfortunate injury that he did take. He got the ACL. He's going to be out for a whole year, which is really disappointing. But that was a big point loss for me. He only got 12 in the end, which was really disappointing. Looking at my team as well, the likes of Bontempelli, Martin, who I was hoping to score well, Grundy, Fisher, none of them scored none of them scored the scores that I was hoping for.
Yeah, pre-season predictions.
Yeah, the pre-season look at not so much Bontempelli, but I was expecting him to get more than 90. I was thinking at least 110 in his first game of the year.
Yeah,
he only got 90. The likes of even Davies Uniacke only got 98. Martin got 93, which is okay for a midfielder who played halfback. I hope when he does get his extra position when he goes to halfback, we'll be able to chuck him straight back in there.
Yeah.
But Zach Fisher, he had a massive last pre-season game. I was thinking, he's going to be great this year. I could have really spent a little bit of extra money and got Isaac Heaney instead of him, but I went with Zach Fisher. He gets 68. So another disappointment one. And obviously, now look, I'm not off Brodie Grundy yet, because he did. You know how many free kicks he gave away in that game?
He gave 4, didn't he?
He gave away 7.
7.
Yeah.
So he gave up 21 points.
21 points.
Fucking hell, that's a... Yeah.
So that's why he got 53. So don't jump off Brodie just yet. But if I didn't go with Grundy, I went with Cherry, that would have been another 60-odd points. So a couple of point choices that I made that were a bit unlucky. Riley Sanders got subbed out. What the fuck were the Bulldogs doing?
I don't know.
He was one of their best players as well.
Yeah, I don't get it. What? Because it's his first game. Whoopsie-doo.
If he's your best player, he's one of the fucking field.
Leave him on there, you dickhead.
Anyway, yeah. I add and Lazaro as well as a player that I thought was going to be one of my better scoring forward reserves. I had a choice between him, Windsor, and Wilson. Lazaro scored the lowest, and I put him in my team. Obviously, it was only 11-point difference, so it's not that big a deal, but end of the day, that could have been a really good sign. And even Aaron Cadman scored more than him as well. Sexton as well, he only got 67. He was a unlucky choice.
The conditions weren't suited for...
Yeah, halfback. So I'm okay with that. I'm not getting rid of him yet. One of the big ones where I thought maybe this would be a good idea was Jackson Mead. He only got 60 in the end, which, look, isn't the worst for a midfield reserve. But when you're paying a little bit over the, rookie midfield price, you want to kind of get a 70 out of him. He only got 60 in the end. And really, another one as well was Elliot Yeo. He only scored 70 in the end, which I was hoping for at least 80. But just a lot of players didn't score very well in my first week. My rank was 30,000 and 2,010. That's fucking dreadful.
What did you actually score?
Yeah, my overall score was 1,994. So I didn't even break the 2K in the first round, which is not good enough for me. I'm going to do better than that. One thing I did do though was, which was something that did help me, because I did have my captain on Marcus Bontempelli, but when I saw Nick Dacos score on Friday night, I quickly swapped around and got, because he was my vice captain, quickly swapped it around, and luckily I got that one right.
Yeah.
He scored 123, which doubled to 246, while Bontempelli would have got 90, 180. So that was an extra 60 points that I could have lost. So that was a good thing for me. But, of course, with that terrible score, I've got to have to make some changes this week.
Yeah.
So, my first trade of this week was I've got Riley Bonner as my midfielder. Okay.
A lot of people have started to get him.
So, yeah. My trades this week were I got Riley Bonner, got rid of Zach Fisher, and my other trade was I got rid of Josh Gibcus, and I picked up Marty Hoare. So, I'll go through why I've done that. Zach Fisher, I really think he's going to go and score big this week. I just have a feeling.
Yeah.
But I need the reason why I did it was because I think Riley Bonner is going to have a really good role at halfback this year for the Saints. Now, this may change this week depending on how, if Jack Sinclair comes in, there's talk that he could be back in, and it may make me change my decision again. This is not exactly 100% finalised because I am really unsure about this trade. My other trade thought was getting rid of Zach Fisher and picking up Archie Perkins because he had a massive game in round one, and he looks like he's going to... I looked at his statistics as well, Archie Perkins. He had about 27 CBAs, had 12 tackles. He had a massive game.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to get that midfield spot a lot more this year as well, even when Darcy Parish comes back in. But the reason why I've gone with Riley Bonner is I think he's going to have a big year for St Kilda. He's a good left footer, obviously played for Port Adelaide, so learned some great things there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he obviously learned it from the best. Anyway, he's a very low price. He's only 501 at the moment. So I think that's a pretty good total to start off with. His break-even's going to be pretty low this week, obviously scoring 100 odd.
Yeah.
He's only a midfielder, which is really annoying. but he will get defensive status. So that's another player I can chuck in defence and then trade back, bring in a midfielder. But I just over the pre-season, he's been really good for St Kilda. I think he's getting used a bit more with the ball than Wanganeen Miller, sorry. So I think that's why I'm leaning towards going for Bonner instead of keeping going for Perkins. That's definitely one of my trades this week.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting rid of Zach Fisher. The price that he's at the moment is 600 odd, and look, the way that he played in that game, he actually lost price. So his break even, he's going to have to score a good 80 odd, 90 odd. So at the moment, when I need to get some money generation, I just think that's a good idea to go with Riley Bonner. And the reason why I'm going with Marty Hoare is he scored a good 70 on the weekend. I already had Howes, which is the other defender for Melbourne, who's a pretty good price, and he's a bit dearer. He was 70k more expensive than Josh Gibcus, but we've seen Marty Hoare when he played for Melbourne a couple of years ago. He was actually really good as a rookie when you started him. So I think he can average around that 60-70 mark. And I think he can definitely be good for money generation in the next couple of weeks. So this week as well, guys, we do have the buys for Carlton and Brisbane. Luckily, I don't have any Brisbane players. I only have one Carlton player, and Zach Williams. So Marty Hoare and Howes will both be in my team this week. But you also do remember as well that we will be having only 18 players score. So the highest 18 scores will be counted for AFL Fantasy this week. So the 4 lowest will be taken away for every team, even if you don't have them on buys, even if you have more players playing in your regular 22. So let's get into your team.
Sorry,
one more thing. I lost my league game. We'll get into the leagues talk in a minute.
All right.
So you go.
So I'd still say I had a pretty poor week, in my opinion. Basically, I did score 2,090. I scored 2,093. It's a poor week because everyone had a poor week. No one scored 2,300. That's how poor this week was.
To be fair though, everyone's got to start a team, so it's very hard to score 2,300.
So you can basically say that. I ranked in the top 5,000. I ranked 4,810.
All right. So the reason why I'm so annoyed, by the way, guys, is because I have always, out of us two, I've always been the better AFL fantasy.
In the last year in round 1, I'm doing better as of this year, at the moment. So I've done okay, and it's kind of funny also because he thinks I copied all his team.
Well, you did copy the majority of it, and luckily the ones that you did pick different actually did better.
Yeah, I looked at so you look at my team. I had Brodie Grundy, which was pretty poor. I had Sexton. Windsor didn't score well as a rookie. He only got 58. Same with Wilson. Darcy Wilson, 63.
I'll take that, though.
Yeah, as a rookie, you take those. Zach Fisher, he screwed me. Then you go to the defence. Like, you see Elliot Yeo. Zach Williams is getting a 74, which is really poor. Harley Reid, he played a good first half. Then he just... foot off the gas. He got 55.
Yeah. He had about 40 at the halftime.
Yeah, so it's pretty poor, really. And you look at also Pontus Pelly, I think he was on 70 or something at halftime.
Yeah.
He got 90 odd, that's pretty poor. Besides from that, pretty good otherwise. I had Nick Dacos, Sheasel scored 120. Young's got 95, so I'll take that. I had my VC on Grundy, which I was pretty disappointed on. I was like, what? Why did I not pick Dacos, which I should have done?
But we'll get into why. That doesn't matter for you.
It doesn't matter for me because I was not stupid enough to put it on someone else besides Tom Green, who scored 145. And I had him on captain, so 290. So that's why my score was so big, really.
Yeah, that's basically the reason why. I think a lot of people last week especially in the league that we have, who scored more, did have Tom Green as their captain.
Yeah.
Which was, look, it should have been a good choice. For people that did pick it, well done. But he was playing North Melbourne. We should have been expecting that.
Most people should have really seen it.
They've got West Coast this week.
Yeah, and you look at that, this week. You look at my bench, I'm actually disappointed I didn't have Jeremy Sharp in my team because he got 79 and I really should have taken it over even, say, a Harley Reid, who I didn't think would score that well because his pre-season wasn't that good flash either. So I really should have started with Jeremy Sharp.
Yeah.
Or a Matt Roberts, who got 68. but they were both on my bench. So what are we looking at? So at my there was a few disappointing performances. So my trades have started with Zach Williams. I've got rid of him. He's got the bye this week, and he didn't really look flash in the game, and his pre-season doesn't look great either with scores.
Okay. I'm gonna have to talk to you about this one after.
Okay. In the 80s, but I got D'Ambrosio. He scored a 94 last week, was it?
Yeah, he's one of Hawthorn's highest scorers in the end, D'Ambrosio.
Yeah, so I'll tell him he's got a low break even, so he should look good. I also got rid of Kyle Lohmann because he also was a sub for Brisbane. He only scored 23, which is not great, and his break even's going to be pretty high.
The one thing I will say, though, about Kyle Lohmann is there have been a few injuries on Brisbane's side, so he may get a spot this week as well with their losses.
Yeah.
So that's maybe a choice, but I do understand why you've gone to Kyle Lohmann. And now, because he did score 23, his break-even's going to go high.
Yeah, and I got Ollie Dempsey because of the fact that he is 300k, which is very high for a rookie.
Yeah,
on my bench. But because he scored so high, his break-even is so low.
Yeah.
And I just need some money to generate at the moment just to get through these so-called buys, even though they are top 18 scores. So it won't affect me that much.
Yeah.
And looking at my team now, with those two teams having the buy, I've still got a full 22, so it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Okay.
And I've still went for next week the same people I went with last week. But I went with Dacos as my VC and Tom Green against the Eagles. Giants.
I've actually gone the same as well, which I think a lot of people will be doing this week because Collingwood obviously have the earlier game and GWS have West Coast. So I think that's fair enough. So before we move on and talk about world sport, let's talk about the league. So we have been mentioning that we have mentioned throughout the whole off season of the footy that we've been trying to we've been making an AFL Fantasy League for everyone to join up. And we did fill up the league. We filled up a full-up 18. We were pretty happy about that. And I really underestimated you guys because you guys are actually pretty decent at this. I thought that we were going to be adding a bunch of people who have never played AFL Fantasy before. Boy, was I fucking wrong. You guys actually did really well. You guys are averaging around the high 1900s, which is pretty good for a first week. I mean, in our league right now, we only had one person score under 1900. No, two, but one was only 1898. So we had a few people who scored 2,100, which is pretty good for the first week of the season, you know?
Yeah.
But because you guys were so good, you've made me look freaking dreadful. I've been talking up all pre-season and all that. Like, you guys got more chance beating us in AFL tipping than AFL fantasy, and we look fucking dreadful. So looking at the ladder now...
What do you mean we look dreadful? I won.
Yeah, alright, whatever. Alright, I look dreadful. Anyway, looking at top, we have Ty Schiller from Shillings for Billings. Love the name, dude. You are on top of our AFL Fantasy League. So currently, right now, if the league ended, you would be winning a $125 gift voucher to the AFL store, along with an A3 print of your choice from our AFL print design business called BR Design. So congratulations to you, man. Haven't won anything yet, but good job for taking the lead round one. And to be honest, the only reason why you are in front is because you beat the lowest scoring team. But, hey, if you play the Eagles, you go and flog them. So good on you, man. Anyway, you're up in third spot. That's a good spot for you. I'm sitting down in 13th, which, to be honest, I'm pretty happy about because I felt like I should be 18th right now after that poor week. Anyway, that's everything we really got to talk about for the AFL fantasy stuff, guys. And that's pretty much all the footy stuff we have for this week. So before we move into world sport, like we try to mention in every single episode in about this interval, is that we do have a Patreon. So if you guys do want to join the Patreon, there's a link down below. It's about $5 a month. You get early access to all the videos on this channel, as well as the podcast early. And a big reason why I'm going to be starting to push the Patreon a bit more as well is because we are going to be starting to release like these mini doco videos. You kind of saw it with the AFLX video we made a couple of weeks ago. We have one ready to go for St Kilda on Monday. So I'm trying to get them out every 3 weeks. I would love to push it to every fortnight, to every week even. But obviously we do need a lot of support. If you guys do want to see that sort of stuff and want to help us out a bit, then the link is down below, and you also get access to the live stream for our other podcast, the Twinners podcast, and you get that early as well. So if that interests you at all, it's a couple of dollars a month. The link is down below. If you can't afford it or you don't want to join, that's completely fine. We will add the clip, I think we've already done it, of the tips for this week as well. We just did it a little bit earlier because we wanted to get the video out. But that's pretty much all of that sort of stuff, guys. So let's get into World Sport. And this is going to be a long podcast, but hey, that's what you're here for. So let's get into World Sport. And we have a bit to talk about on that side as well. We have a bit of NFL chat to talk about with a bit of trade news, which, isn't fake news. But anyway, it's actually happened. We can make up some fake NFL trades if you want. But anyway, first bit of story, we'd like to talk about the Premier League. We'll get into some Champions League stuff as well. But first news off the rank is some big information about point deduction.
Again.
We've seen it a few times this year. We've talked about it quite a lot. And this time, Nottingham Forest are in the firing line. So they have been given a 4-point deduction for financial rule breaches. So Nottingham Forest are in the relegation fight. They're much more in it now after being given a 4-point deduction. But it's very interesting the fact that they just keep on giving these point deductions out.
And not to City, who've been the catalyst, who started this whole thing.
Yeah, they've been there for many, many years. It's been there for a few years now, but it's still just nothing happening. So I'm very surprised that nothing's happened yet for City, but it's still, they've been the ones who are I wouldn't say the catalyst, but everyone was talking about them originally, and now it's just like, oh, who cares? We don't even want to talk about them anymore.
We'll sort out everyone else's first before them. But anyway. I think they did it just to make the relegation battle more interesting now.
Well, it has made it really interesting. I mean, Nottingham Forest now sit in the relegation zone, and Luton Town are out again. They have been pushed out of the relegation zone twice this year on point deductions. Luton Town.
They're getting pretty lucky, I reckon.
Yeah, I think the Premier League want them to stay up at this point. Looking at the relegation battle right now, there was only a few Premier League games this weekend because they had the FA Cup. But looking at the relegation zone right now, due to the 4-point deduction to Nottingham Forest, they are now sitting 1 point inside the zone. So, looking at the relegation battle right now, Brentford sit on 26 points in 15th spot. I think they'll be fine because they've got Ivan Toney, and I think they have enough there to just keep them up.
Yeah, I think so.
Everton are on 25 points in 16th spot. Everton did have a 10-point deduction, which was later changed to 6 points. So that put them in the relegation zone, and now they're back out. If they currently did have that 10-point deduction, though, Luton Town would move up again. So that would be... Imagine surviving on that, though. That would be a bit... they're just pushing teams down below them.
Just got to find some way to win. Some way to get there.
Yeah, you got to find some way to survive, I guess. But they still, at the moment, with the point deduction of only 6 points, they sit in 16th spot on 25 points. Luton Town, the favoured sons of the Premier League, I think everyone wants to see them survive. They are sitting on 22 points and in 17th spot. 1 point below them is Nottingham Forest with their point deduction. They're sitting on 21 points. Burnley are on 17. They're sitting in 19th spot. And Sheffield are 14 in last spot.
You're looking at those deductions. Burnley actually have a chance.
Yeah, I mean,
small chance to get out if they keep winning.
They're 5 points away from safety. They have got 9 games to go.
Yeah,
they could still survive, and who knows about Everton? They're still talking about they could lose. The point deduction could change again. I don't think it would get increased back to 10. I think that's a little bit low.
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
If that was the case, though, that would give Burnley every chance to survive.
Yeah,
that is so interesting. At the moment, does that change things for you about if Luton Town survive?
To be honest, it does.
You think Nottingham could
Nottingham Forest are the team, well, you've said that could go down. And now they're there. Now they're down.
To be fair, though, Nottingham Forest haven't been performing too badly lately.
Yeah.
And they've got Chris Wood, who's kicked 11 goals for them this season.
Well, you look at it, he could spur them.
9 goals, sorry.
It could spur them, like it did Everton when they first got the deduction. It spurred Everton to win a few games in a row. It might spur Nottingham to do it as well.
Yeah. To be fair, Nottingham aren't in the best of form, though. They are currently have lost 4 of their past 5 games and haven't won a game in 5. Their next couple of games are Crystal Palace, Fulham, Tottenham, and Wolverhampton and Everton. So there are 3 games there they could potentially win, or at least get points from, I would say. Wolverhampton's pretty tough, and Tottenham is very tough.
Yeah.
Fulham at home, Crystal Palace at home, they're a chance, and Everton away, that's tough, but they could, if they're going to survive, they're going to have to win. They're going to have to get points from those games.
Yeah.
So that is a very interesting look at that, and then they have City after that, so that's 3 points lost. Let's be honest, we're not going to give them a chance there. Looking at Luton Town though, in their last 5 games, they have not been able to get a point. They've only been able to get 2 points, and they've had chances to get wins.
They've had open chances.
They had a 3-0 lead on Bournemouth and they lost it.
Yeah.
They got 1-1 against Crystal Palace. They did pretty well against Aston Villa as well, and then they had a game against Nottingham which they probably should have won. Maybe not should have won, but they should have done better. So their next 5 games though are tough for Luton. They have Tottenham, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Manchester City, and Brentford. That is a tough run.
A tough run. The thing is for Luton is that they actually have played well against the big sides.
Yeah, that's true.
Performed well, but they just somehow need to. Well, they could shape it. They could shape it. They could shape the title race, really.
Yeah, well, they could exactly. The problem is though they're not in good form at the moment. They were in decent form when they were playing those top teams in the past. If they go and lose like against Arsenal, who have been really good in City, like 6 or 7-0, which is a possibility. Yeah, that would destroy them and probably would knock them back in the relegation zone. Yeah, so a really big battle for the relegation zone in the Premier League coming up. Looking at the title race right now, nothing's really changed on that front since we last talked because there's been no games for Arsenal, Liverpool or City. So Arsenal still have a lead on goal difference on 64. Liverpool are 64, just behind on goal difference, and City are 63 right now, all playing 28 games. Aston Villa are in 4th right now, playing an extra game in hand, are on 56 points. And Tottenham are on 53 points, a win behind Aston Villa, but still have that game in hand.
Yeah, Tottenham actually are the team that could set up the title race because they play each of the top 3 in the run home. So Tottenham are the team probably that are going to sort out the title race.
Yeah, to be fair though to Tottenham, they've been in some up and down form.
Yeah.
They had a 3-0 loss to Fulham, but then beat Aston Villa away 4-0.
Yeah.
So, a bit odd. It'll be interesting how Tottenham finish their season. There's not much. They're obviously not going to be in the title race for the Premier League at all. They're probably going to be fighting hard for that Europa League spot. Maybe get Conference League at this stage. Maybe Champions League if they can hit a run of form. But it's going to be really interesting going forward. Looking at the fixture for the next match day, I guess. Newcastle play West Ham. Bournemouth play Everton. That's a massive game for Everton. Chelsea play Burnley. Burnley a chance there, let's be honest. Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. That's a big game too. Sheffield and Fulham. Tottenham and Luton. Aston Villa and Wolves. Brentford and Manchester United. Liverpool and Brighton. And then the big game on Monday morning for us, Sunday night for the locals. Manchester City and Arsenal. What a big game that's going to be. And speaking of some big games coming up, you sent me a thing on during the week of the race to the title. So the fixture for the next, I think it's the remainder of the season. So the fixtures right now for the top 3 teams. So right now you've been telling me for quite a while that Liverpool have the easier run home of the top 3. So looking at it right now, Arsenal's run home is City, Luton, Brighton, Aston Villa, Wolverhampton, Tottenham, Bournemouth, Manchester United, Everton, and then they finish on Chelsea. So that run is okay, a bit of up and down. They've got a run of they got Luton. I would bank them wins against Luton, Wolverhampton, Bournemouth, and Everton, probably Chelsea as well. So you could bank them 5 wins, basically, I would say. They've got City, that's a tough game. They've got Aston Villa at home, that's a tough game. Tottenham away, Manchester United away. So those aren't gimmies. Yeah. So that's interesting for them. Manchester City, they've got Arsenal, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Luton, Tottenham, Nottingham Forest, Wolverhampton, Fulham, West Ham, and Brighton. So they'll win against Crystal Palace, Luton Town, Nottingham Forest, Wolverhampton, Fulham, West Ham, and then Brighton. So they've got tough games against Arsenal, Aston Villa, and Tottenham. So 3 games there where, that can go either way. That's a big game against Arsenal on Monday.
Yeah.
And then the Liverpool's fixture, which you've said is the easier. They've got Brighton, Sheffield United, Manchester Manchester United, Crystal Palace, Fulham, West Ham, Tottenham, Aston Villa, Wolverhampton, and Everton to finish things off. Big game as the
of course, and as decided derby's the last game there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's interesting. But look, they got Brighton, Sheffield, Crystal Palace, Fulham, Wolverhampton, and Everton. They should be getting wins against. Aston Villa away is tough.
Yeah.
Tottenham at home, they should be okay against. Manchester United as well, they should be okay. But the lucky thing for them, obviously, is they don't have to play against either City or Arsenal now in the last 10 games. There were 9 games. But it's very interesting to see how this season's going to finish up.
Yeah.
So, a really big run to the end of the title chase for the Premier League. I'm super excited to watch that and the relegation battle. I think it's super exciting. Close on both sides, which is really interesting because a lot of the time we don't usually get close races on both sides.
No.
So, it's going to be really interesting. Moving on to the Champions League, the fixture has been released for the quarterfinals. So, Arsenal will be playing Bayern Munich. Atletico Madrid will be playing Borussia Dortmund. Real Madrid will be playing against Manchester City. And PSG will be playing against Barcelona. Thank God they made these 4 games interesting. They put the heavyweights against the heavyweights and maybe the lower teams against the lower teams. Arsenal against Bayern Munich's massive game. Because I think that's really good to see that they're playing against the German Titans of Bayern Munich. I love that Atletico Madrid are playing Borussia Dortmund because I feel like they're the lower teams. So one of them's going to be making the semis, which is really big. Well, not the semis. Yeah, the semis. And then you got PSG against Barcelona. I love that matchup. But Real Madrid versus City, the fact that one of them will be eliminated in the quarterfinals is massive.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the 2 heavyweights of
well, they're the last 2 Champions League winners. I assume.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Well, the biggest winner of the Champions League against the last winner.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. If you could give us some quick tips, who would you be going against? I'll go. Obviously, they got the 2 legs. I'm going to go Bayern Munich in the first one. Atletico in that against Dortmund. That's tough. I'll leave that one for a second. PSG over. I'll go PSG over Barcelona. And I'll go Manchester City over Real Madrid.
Yeah. I'll go... Yeah, Bayern Munich should beat Arsenal. What was it? PSG. I'll go PSG over Barcelona. Atletico will lose. Borussia Dortmund will win that. And Real Madrid. I think that City have got too many other competitions they need to focus on at the moment that Real Madrid's already won La Liga pretty much, so I think it will be just easier for them to put their efforts into that.
The reason why I pick City is because I think that they have more. They've got more harder games, which means they're going to be more match fit against Real Madrid, so to say. That's why I've gone with them. Anyway, the last bit of stuff for today's podcast is a bit of NFL chat. Now, we haven't talked about the NFL for the last few weeks, obviously, since the season has finished, but we do have some trade news. So I've recorded a couple of trade moves over the past week or so, basically. So I just wanted to talk about a lot of the main ones, really, the ones that I've been noticing. Also, Aaron Donald did retire from NFL, which is big.
Yeah.
As well, one of the best defensive players to have ever played the NFL. So that's really big. Had a massive career for the Rams, and he played for, I think, was it the Raiders that he played for? I don't think it's the Raiders. I don't know. Sorry. Anyway, looking at the trades. Ritter has been traded away from the Falcons to the Cardinals. Oh, thank fuck. Thank God. Unbelievable. Now, the reason why they did that is because they've actually signed Cousins from the Vikings. This is a great get for them. They needed to... because they had Matt Ryan, obviously, as the quarterback for a long time. Yeah. But they never really replaced him when he left. Because he went to the Colts.
Yeah.
And then played a couple of years there and then ended his career. I think he only played a year. But they never really replaced him. They had a Mariota from the Raiders for a year or two, and then they had Ritter. And we saw Ritter cost them at least 2 or 3 games last year.
Yeah,
last season.
So, yeah.
So for them to get a recognised QB who's a good player who was a good player for the Vikings, now going to be a great player for the Falcons. Cousins is a great get. How do you feel about that?
I think it needed the Falcons needed someone. They couldn't just keep Ritter because they kept on playing him and Heineke. They didn't know which one to go with, and they just need someone who's done it.
I think they've still got Heineke as his reserve, which I think is actually a good decision.
He's got Yeah, I think
I think he was the number 1 QB for a while for the Commanders. So I think it was either them or the. No, I think it was the Commanders.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Another one as well. Shaquan Barkley has moved from the Giants. He's gone to the Philadelphia Eagles. That is a massive get.
Yeah, that's
for
a
them.
huge get, and it's really disappointing if you're a Giants fan.
He's been their best young player for such a long time. Well, him and he's been basically their best for such a long time.
Yeah.
And the fact now that he's left to the Philadelphia Eagles, that's fucking massive.
And the Giants could be really poor.
Yeah, well, he was probably their best offense on the offensive side, and now they've lost him.
They were getting any touchdowns.
Yeah, he was one of the big reasons why they were.
Yeah.
So to lose him is massive for the Giants, but great get for the Eagles.
Oh yeah, definitely. And basically after their playoffs,
second half,
really. Yeah, they need someone.
So that's a good get for them. Calvin Ridley. Now, he used to be a Falcon, left from the Falcons to go to another team. It was the Carolina Panthers, I believe. And now he's been traded again. He's gone to the Titans. So that's a big one for the Titans. But one of the biggest ones, and this is shocking. I don't know if you saw this, Justin Fields.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
He's left the Bears, who was their number 1 pick a couple of years ago, and he's gone to the Steelers.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck... I don't get a lot of NFL trades, to be honest with you. I don't know why these teams are trading. Like I don't know why the Vikings would get rid of Cousins, to be honest with you. I don't know why the Giants would let Shaquan Barkley go. Like, I mean, the money that they have in the NFL, I'm surprised they let these players go. But Justin Fields, this guy was supposed to be their leader for the next 10 years. Yeah. And they've let him go to the Steelers.
It's because that, a lot of people think it's because they've got the number 1 pick, the Bears. They're going to take the QB from the draft.
You haven't recognised QB already. In any sport, I don't like the idea of, trading away a big player because you're getting a draft pick in the future.
The draft pick, it doesn't matter what draft it is. It's what they've done in college.
It's a gamble.
It's a gamble, whatever they do. You don't know if it's in AFL or college football.
Yeah.
It could be anyone. It could be anything.
Like, if you have the number 1 pick, I get it. Like, you use it. Or if you want to trade it out, whatever, if you get a good player back. But the fact that you've traded your best QB, one of the best running QBs in the comp, really, he's probably up there. He's not near Lamar Jackson, but he's like a very proven running QB.
He's proven what he can do.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have the number 1 pick, you're trading away your best player just to get a player who has been said to be good.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a huge risk, which a team like the Chicago Bears, who haven't been good for a while now, I think is a huge risk that you don't have to take.
Yeah.
Like, sign the guy, and if he's good, get rid of Justin Fields next year. Is that hard to do? I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong, but I just think that's a huge risk for something that you don't really have to do. Anyway, that's pretty much all we've got for this week's episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, guys. Episode 55. Thank you for listening and watching. If you did listen on Spotify, make sure to leave us 5 stars and make sure to leave us a follow as well so you are notified on the new episode. And of course, we are releasing the review episodes up on Spotify as well, so you'll be notified on that if you follow. And of course, if you are on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe for new videos, content, and like I said through the podcast, this week's live stream will be for the St Kilda Collingwood game on Thursday night, so make sure to stop by. Thank you for watching, listening, and we will catch us all next week.
See you later, guys.